let's talk about what coaching inquiry really is and what it's not. What is coaching inquiry? Is coaching just ask people some questions? No, it's a little more involved than that. First, let's talk about what coaching inquiry is not. Coaching inquiry is not asking what we call leading questions. Leading questions are questions that imply what it is that you think the person really should do. For instance, if you're coaching a client on a career change and they're struggling with believing in themselves, a leading question might be, don't you think it's important to believe in yourself? The implication with this question is that the client should somehow be able to just flip a switch and believe in themselves. But it doesn't really work that way, does it? Coaching inquiry should also avoid what we call in the CLCC coach training program, heavy backpack questions. You know how you can overpack a backpack and technically you can carry it, but you kind of regret packing so much in? Questions can be that way too, and it muddies clarity for the client. For instance, asking a client, when you share that you feel conflicted, is it more of a conflict of your values or a conflict of what you want in this moment or something else? Because I can see how there's a conflict of values present here, but perhaps it's also tied to the present. Oh my gosh, I have to take a breath just to even try to get that question out. Instead, you want to ask questions that are clear, direct, open, and forward-leaning. Clear. Clear questions are worded in a way that the client understands. This may mean using language more appropriate for the client. For example, what's it costing you might not be as clear for the client as what's it costing you to choose Netflix and bed rot over working on your business. Depending on the client, the phrase costing might even be too vague. So you might need to ask, what's the consequence of choosing Netflix and bed rot over working on your business? Questions need to be direct, meaning they're not over-articulated. If you want to know what it's costing a client to make a particular choice, just ask, what's it costing you to make that choice? Rather than those heavy backpack questions. Well, when you think about all the things that go into it and all the things that you're managing, the question just gets way too heavy. Questions should be open. If the question cannot be answered with a yes or a no, it's an open question. So instead of asking, is it costing you something to choose a Netflix binge, which the client can answer with a simple yes or no, ask, what does it cost you to choose a TV binge? Or how do you feel when you choose a TV binge? Or where do your values go when you choose to binge on TV? And of course, make sure there are no leading questions, which I already mentioned. These are questions, again, where the answer is embedded within the question itself. The answer the coach is anticipating should never be embedded in the question because we want to keep coaching client-led. Last, questions should be forward-leaning. The CLCC coach training program invites more exploration of where a person's past might be showing up in the present than some other coach trainings emphasize. A specific session focus, however, is going to be the thing that helps with keeping your questions forward-leaning the most. When you don't know what your client's specific session focus is, it's hard to keep orienting your questions toward that focus. But if you do know that your client's session focus is something like, I want to understand why I choose binging on TV over working on my business, then a forward-leaning question might be, what triggers or distractions need to be examined for you to prioritize working on your business? A question that's more rooted in the past might be, when did you start noticing that you wanted to avoid working on your business? If you keep your questions clear, direct, open, and forward-leaning, you'll be asking powerful questions for coaching inquiry that help your clients consider their options and choose their next steps.